Hey there, man in tech. Welcome. The first episode ever directed at you, because this episode is about your glass floor and how breaking through it can transform the speed of your career, the heights you can achieve, and the legacy you create as a person and in the tech industry. Also, my women in tech, this episode, it's for you as well. Welcome to the Build Your Brave Career podcast, where we flip the script on the tired stereotype that women in and around the tech industry have to be stressed out, overworked, and underpaid. I'm Nicole Trick-Steinbach, the International Bravery Coach and your host. Forget what you've been taught. Bravery is not a personality trait available only to the brash. Bravery is a skill, and you already have it, which is great because building the skill of bravery is the most powerful way to creating the career and life you really want. As you build your brave, you will stress less, work less, and then earn more. This podcast will help you do just that. Let's dive in. Men in tech, men, you are the problem and the solution. And that's a really powerful place to be. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do before I do it first. I'm going to walk you through the 5 parts of this episode about your glass floor, also called a glass ceiling for women in tech. Part 1. I'm going to start with statistics for why inclusive cultures are important. Part 2, I'm going to explain the metaphor for the glass ceiling and glass floor. Part 3, I'm going to walk you through the problem. Part 4, I am going to gift you 5 concrete ways to break the glass floor. And part 5, women in tech, that part is for you. Men, you're welcome to listen. Women, I'm going to give you a really simple, empowering call to action. All right, let's dive into part 1. Stats for why inclusive cultures are important. Number 1, higher financial performance. Companies with more women in leadership positions are 25% more likely to have above average profitability. Number 2, increased innovation. Diverse companies are 1.7 times more likely to be innovation leaders in. Number 3, greater revenue from innovation. Firms with inclusive teams are 45% more likely to report improved market share and capture new markets. Number 4, better decision making. Inclusive teams make better business decisions up to 87% of the time. Number 5, improved team performance. Diverse teams outperform individual decision makers 66% of the time. Number 6, improved employee retention. Inclusive workplaces have a 50% lower employee turnover rate than less inclusive companies. Number 7, higher return on equity. Companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams were 21% more likely to experience above average profitability. Number 8, enhanced company reputation. 67% of job seekers consider diversity an important factor when evaluating companies and job offers. Number 9, increased employee engagement. Companies with higher diversity scores have 2.3 times higher employee engagement levels. Number 10, reduced turnover cost. Replacing an employee costs 33% of their annual salary. Inclusivity reduces turnover, leading to substantial cost savings. All of these, plus 10 more stats and the sources for them, are in the show notes. Sources included McKinsey, Center for Talent Innovation, Cloverpop, Deloitte, Glassdoor, Gartner, the Work Institute, and more. If you want those and you want the sources, head on over to the show notes. Financial growth, innovation, employee satisfaction, operating margin, market share. Men, creating diverse, inclusive workplaces, it's not just ethically important, It is a key driver for your career success and for business success. You want to be doing this. So let's talk about the glass ceiling, because here's part two. I'm going to explain the metaphor for the glass ceiling to center our conversation. In case you're not familiar with it, men or women, the idea of the glass ceiling is an image. There's a glass ceiling. It's quite thick. The people above and below it can see through it. So the glass ceiling descriptor is from the perspective of the people held underneath it. We also call it a glass floor for the people above it. At the bottom are primarily white women, Black women, brown women, Black men, brown men, trans women, trans men, people holistically in the LGBTQI community, Asian women, Asian men, neurodiverse humans. Basically, everyone who isn't like the 85% plus of global C-level executives at public companies who are straight, white men. So that's the bottom. At the top are the straight white men primarily. This metaphor in popular culture is usually used for executive level roles. I want us in this conversation to consider it in more wide terms. For example, principal software architect, lead sales partner, managing director, global consultant, principal researcher, head of. Many, many, many of us, men and women, do not desire to hit the C level, but we do desire a specific role. And statistics and studies show us that the more niche that role is, the more impactful that role is, the more the glass ceiling metaphor comes into play. There are two elements I really want to stress as we move forward. Number one, this glass ceiling, it's glass. Everyone can see through it. Everyone, whether it's your floor or your ceiling, you can see through it. We know, all of us know the current reality. We see it in corporate pictures. We see it on panels and live events. We all see it, and we know what side we're on. Anyone who claims a difference is either ignorant, willfully or otherwise, or they are lying. We see what is current status quo. Number two, this ceiling, yeah, it's metaphorical, right? It's a metaphor, but it is also metaphorically impacted by gravity. And allow me to make this part very clear with a simple question. Which side, whether it's your glass floor or your glass ceiling, who can most easily and with purpose break the glass? From the bottom, with chisels of hard work against gravity, or from the top with a swift, determined, gravity-supported effort? Correct, the people at the top, the people who see this ceiling as a floor. And we know those people at the top are you, primarily straight white men. And yet, when I did a simple Google search and then went to the Library of Congress and searched for materials and information, there were over 50,000 resources directly, explicitly for women, and less than 3 explicitly for men. So the people who can most easily, effectively, and fastest, white men, straight white men, are not centered into solving this problem. Yes. Part 3. Let's dive into the problem. So here are 5 key reasons. There are more, but here are 5 of how you currently hold power and how you can shift it. All right. Number 1, pre-existing power and influence. Listen, we live in a world that centers men. Men, you have historically held the majority of leadership and decision-making positions. History is told from your perspective. With greater access, you are in a position to directly influence hiring, promotions, policies, norms, and you are in a position to not replicate what has been done in the past, closing out and holding back so many people. You can use it as a tool to break through the glass floor. Number 2, less resistance to your advocacy. When you speak out, you face less resistance than everyone else. Everyone else is perceived as self-serving, emotional, hysterical, overwrought, but not you. You have credibility, so you can lend credibility. You can push forward policies that, coming from other people, may be ignored or dismissed. And this part is so important. You are championed and lauded for speaking up. Women are punished, often punished physically, sexually, financially, professionally, and even in our identities. Men, quite frankly, it's safer for you to speak up, speak out, act up, and act out. Key reason number 3, the privilege to take risks. Men, you generally face fewer consequences for taking risks, including advocating for change or challenging norms. Women and other people who have been traditionally closed out, we face backlash and further marginalization. You can use your relative safety to take bolder actions in pushing for change. Simply stated, men fail forward. Women and other folks who are held out, when we fail and fall. Numerous studies of CEOs and tech startups show us that even when a woman has already succeeded and a man has already failed, that man will gain more VC money, have greater access to bank loans, have deeper and broader connections, and collect significantly more positive media coverage. You have the privilege to take risks. Key reason number 4, access to informal networks. You dominate informal networks. They are crucial for career advancement in so many industries, particularly STEM, particularly tech. Your networks often control key information, opportunities, mentorship, and so much more. When you open these spaces to women and to other people, and you advocate, you can break through the glass floor. And here's something that I want to say very directly, and this might be very uncomfortable for you. I offer this to you with bravery and compassion. If you are currently worried, as many men have publicly and privately expressed, that if you give women access to your informal networks, to your mentorship and sponsorship, you will face a sexual harassment case or rumors of inappropriate relationships, you already know. You know that your behavior, your way of speaking, acting, making decisions, touching, etc., towards women is problematic at best. And you know that the behavior you permit around you is a problem. So start there first. And now to key reason number 5. Men in leadership have the ability to set culture norms. When you reset culture norms to be more inclusive, equitable hiring, promoting, addressing issues, removing obstacles, you set the tone. You create an environment where bias is actively addressed rather than passively tolerated or even strengthened. Gentlemen, for these 5 reasons, pre-existing power and influence, less resistance to your advocacy, privilege to take risks, access to informal networks, how powerful you can be in role modeling behavior, you can have with simple, consistent behavior a profound and far-reaching impact. And it would be unfair if I only called you out. I want to call you in. And now we enter part 4. Here are 5 concrete ways to break through your glass floor. Number 1, advocate for equal opportunities. You can ensure that there is high visibility projects, leadership roles, growth opportunities, mentorship, coaching, speaking, so many other things for people who look, sound, and act differently than you do. This means concretely, everywhere you go, choose to see your glass floor. Are you on a panel with just other men? Hey, request or even propose a woman replace you or expand the panel. The same goes for who gets sent to conferences, who gets published, who is profiled in internal company channels, and so much more. Choose to see the glass floor and choose to advocate to break it. Number 2, challenge the bias in hiring and promotion. You actually can call out professionally without confrontation unconscious bias that shows up in recruiting and promotion processes. For example, ask yourself during promotion cycles, is this pitch deck for this candidate, is it based on performance or on potential? Women are promoted based on performance, usually at significantly higher standards. Men are often promoted based on potential and somewhat higher than average performance. Ask yourself this question for every single candidate and bravely challenge yourself. Then, when you're in the promotion tables, sitting and discussing candidates with your colleagues, lead by example. Present your candidates with their specific checklists for growth and clearly state if you are proposing this person based on their performance or their potential. Ask your colleagues about their candidates as well. Is this for performance or for potential? And notice, I didn't say you need to promote only in one way, only for performance or only for potential. Just be transparent. And then in those circles, while you're challenging bias, specifically point out who isn't at the table or being discussed. For example, you can say, and now I'm quoting one of my former colleagues, hey, I notice we don't have any candidates who are women this round. Speak it into the room. All right, number 3, you can amplify women's voices. This is such a small shift in behavior that has profound ripples. For example, one of the men that I coached a few years ago to become a more brave and equitable leader wrote down the name of everyone who spoke in a meeting as they spoke, just very simply their name. Then he would specifically call on the people who hadn't yet spoken. At first, he was only calling on women because, and quite frankly, he had ignored and dismissed them for so long that they went silent. But over time, as he was calling on people, as he was noticing who was talking and who wasn't, his behavior changed the team. Then he started that same behavior in his own group of colleagues, shifting the makeup of conversation over time. He then got big promotions. He relocated to Europe, which was his goal. And he continues to grow in success because he has become a more equitable leader. Number 4, provide mentorship and sponsorship. Give the guidance. Make the time. Advocate. Bring women's names into room. If all your quote unquote best candidates act and look like you have a mindset and awareness problem. You can shift that and not be the problem, but the solution. Challenge yourself to be and to do better. Find the actual best candidates, not just a decent candidate you feel okay with. Number 5, this is probably the hardest one. And this is the one that I want to encourage you to utilize after you've done the first 4. You can take a very active role in creating a more inclusive work culture by confronting and rejecting sexist comments and quote unquote jokes, discrimination, and any other behavior that marginalizes others. You can be a visible ally, but you can also be an invisible one. There we have it. I walked you through statistics to motivate you to break that glass floor. I explained what the glass ceiling and glass floor are. I gave you 5 ways you can be the problem. And more, way more importantly, 5 ways you can be the solution. Now, shift to my core audience, to women in tech, because here comes part 6. I offer you, my dear women in tech, a call to action. But shh, this is a secret. This episode is directed at men, but it's really for you. This episode, it's all about helping you to stop blaming yourself and to re-examine why working harder, working longer, leaning all the way in, being more pleasing, more obedient, more professional, more skilled isn't getting you the success you deserve, because you do not have the ease to break a glass floor. You are trying to break through a glass ceiling. This episode is designed to help you learn or remember what is yours and what is not, by openly and directly discussing the role of men, particularly straight white men, in building, nurturing, strengthening, and defending the very systems that help them get and hold power while holding you back and down. I hope this bravely frees you from self-blame and helps you see the invisible structures that you work within. This episode is designed to give you specific ways to see what powerful people, primarily men, could be doing and aren't, and to inspire you to ask for them to do what they could be doing for you, and also to bravely, with love and compassion, poke you to do what you could be doing and aren't yet, for yourself and for all the other people staring up at a glass ceiling that is your glass floor. You can be the solution. I am with you in this bravely together. Until next week, brave it up. If the Build Your Brave Career podcast is helping you reduce your stress, work smarter, or create more income, please share this with a friend. Till next time, you are already brave. Now go build your brave.